Welcome, councillors, to the final full council meeting of 2023. First of all, are there any apologies, Mr. White?
Thank you, Mayor. There are some apologies for this afternoon's meeting from councillors Wakeham, Ewings and Leach. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 2, confirmation of the minutes of the meeting on the 3rd of October. I will propose them, and can I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Enders. And can I have agreement that the minutes are a true and accurate record of that meeting? And a show of hands.
That's clearly carried. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 3, declarations of interest. I invite members to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests, any other registerable interests and non-registerable interests, including the nature and extent of such interests that they may have in any items to be considered at this meeting. And item 3A, can we have our celebrant Jill Hobbs?
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. It's so lovely to be here today. I'm just going to say a few words about light and darkness. As autumn slowly merges into winter, the days shorten as the amount of daylight available is diminished, often dark and gloomy at 3 and 4 in the afternoon. But we are seekers of the light, and that is why we celebrate the birth of Jesus at this time, which brings light into our world. His light draws us to him, giving us cause to celebrate Christmas, a joyous event with enthusiasm, love and compassion as he takes away our darkness, giving us light, encouraging us and bringing us hope for the future. A few short passages about light. And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks by night. And the angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around. Later, Jesus is talking to his disciples, saying, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before people, so that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven." A prayer and a blessing. O Lord, you are all light and goodness. Fill our hearts this Christmas time with a passion and enthusiasm for life. Help us to be generous givers, always ready to help others and not to think of ourselves. Equip us to carry out your will, bringing light to others. We think of those who are lonely, housebound, bereaved, sick or disabled. We pray that with just a smile, a shared time of laughter, a gift, an offer of food, will help establish the peace and goodwill you promised us. So bless us in our work, our family life, the work we do in our communities, and the time that we share together. Fill us with your love, your light, and your compassion. Amen.
May I wish you a happy Christmas, Jill, and thank you for all your work for us. Bye. Bye. Item number 4, business brought forward by the Mayor. There are 3 items brought forward. The first item relates to the 40th year of our association with Wesseling in Germany, and I call upon Councillor Mott to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members, some of you may be aware that we as a Borough Council are twinned with the city of Wesseling in Germany. While I appreciate that contact and communication has dwindled over the past decade, I feel that in an age where we see neighbouring countries engaging in hostilities, I feel it is ever more important to keep open the hand of friendship. This year should have marked the 40th anniversary of the twinning status, and I would like us as a council to send season's greetings to the city in recognition of this, in the hope of re-establishing our relationship with them. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you. And any debate? Are we all in agreement? Can we have a show of hands? The second...
Clearly carried. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. The second item, a late addition, I invite Councillor Ball to give us a short update on the work of SAFA. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate you adding it. I literally just got here from a meeting. I went to lunchtime with SAFA, invited late, but hey-ho. It was basically a networking event, but they were able to just give me an update. As you're probably aware, we gave SAFA some money to use within their organisation, and basically they updated me today to say that 7 residents of West Devon ex-forces have received living grants from that pot, with another 4 being signed off today. And these are used for different things, towards heating, food, different things. And it's just a kind of acknowledgement that the money's been used, but also a reminder to us all, members, that if you've got anybody in your wards that need support, who are ex-forces, who are veterans, or even serving, then please let me know, and I can direct you to the right people at SAFA, because they want to help and support people. Sometimes veterans are not too keen to allow themselves to be helped because they don't feel they need it, but sometimes just need a bit of encouragement. And of course, it isn't just about the money, it's potentially about signposting and other support as well. But just thought I'd give you that update. Thank you, members. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Ball. Moving on to the third item, which relates to the tabled report titled Proposal for On-Street Parking Charges by Devon County Council. And I invite Councillor Bridgewater to introduce the tabled report, and you all have a copy on the table before you. Thank you. Councillor Bridgewater.
Thank you, Matt. Devon County Council is consulting on proposals to introduce pay and display parking in Oakhampton and Tavistock. The consultation period runs from the 7th of December 2023 to the 7th of January 2024. The Borough Council considers that the proposals fail to consider properly the social, economic and environmental implications of introducing charges for on-street parking in Oakhampton and Tavistock, and the evidential basis to fail to provide adequate justification. The item is urgent as the consultation period coincides with the Christmas break, and there is no meeting of the full council scheduled before the deadline for receipt of consultation responses by the County Council. For Oakhampton, the proposals, if approved, would see pay and display tariffs of 1 hour free and 2 hours £1 being introduced between Monday to Saturday 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. Specified lengths of Fairplace Terrace, George Street Spur, Kemperley Road, Mill Road, Park Row and St James Street. Parking would be subject to a maximum of 2 hours stay. Meanwhile, for Tavistock, the proposals, if approved, would see pay and display tariffs of 1 hour free and 2 hours for £1 being introduced Monday to Saturday 9 to 6 in specified lengths at Brook Street, Duke Street, Plymouth Road, Russell Street and West Street. Parking will be subject to a maximum stay of 2 hours. The proposals are in complete contrast to the borough's own approach towards car parking charges and supporting our residents and businesses. At its meeting on the 21st of November, the Council's Hub Committee approved a report that reviewed the car parking charges in its car parks, and having considered the needs of local residents, businesses and the town high streets, made a decision not to increase short-stay parking. Borough Council has not increased short-stay car parking since 2018, And the report recognised that the town centre high streets have not fully recovered from the COVID pandemic, and that the pop and shop throughput of shoppers is vital for local businesses. Although seeking to justify the proposals on basis of them being necessary to manage congestion, improve air quality, and maintain reasonable access to the premises, there is no evidence of such need. Therefore, my recommendation to support our residents and businesses that the Borough Council authorise the lead member for people and communities in consultation with the Director of Customer Service and deliver to respond to the consultation process. Thank you.
Any questions, members?
Madam Mayor, I've just noticed that there is in fact an error in the report. At paragraph 2.3, it should refer to the 2-hour charge being £1.30. It's different from Oakhampton. Thank you.
Can I have a seconder for the proposal? Thank you. Any questions, members? Councillor Ball.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through yourself, Councillor Bridgewater, I appreciate if you spoke to those of us who lived in the towns to get our input, I think, from our perspective. None of us know each other's wards in the same way as we know our own, and I think that's beneficial. I would still like to say something a little bit later on. Thank you.
Any more questions, councillors? No. Any debate? Councillor Joran?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I very much welcome this paper coming forward. For those of you with slightly longer memories, you'll recall that these proposals originally came forward before the election in May, and at that time we had some fairly hectic discussions with Devon County Council. I actually spoke then as the leader of the council with the lead member for highways and received a promise from him that these proposals would only be brought forward with a full consultation and with a full economic impact assessment. We've started to see at long last some consultation. I've still had no sight of an economic impact assessment. So I very much welcome these proposals. We've been working pretty hard behind the scenes, both supporting the bid position, but also talking to our county councillors and getting our county councillors to exert some pressure within Devon as well. And I know, for instance, that Councillor Sellis has worked very hard at trying to shift some views and opinions, and as a result of concerted pressure, some changes have been made to the proposal that have been put forward. I'm still not sure that I understand quite where they're coming from, so I would like, if I may, Madam Mayor, to suggest an amendment to the proposal, and the amendment would be an item 2, which would be to write directly to Devon County Council, seeking an urgent meeting with key members of the County Council, the Borough Council, Oakhampton and Tavistock Town Councils, and other key stakeholders, with the set objective of understanding the rationale, the full implications, and the impact of the proposals. So I wonder whether I could also table that at some point, Madam Mayor.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Mott, thank you. Any questions, members? Councillor Mann. Councillor Mann? To make the amendment, yes.
Sorry, are we now considering the amendment?
Yes, the meeting that's been suggested by Councillor Drury.
Oh, okay, sorry. No, I was fine with the amendment. I wanted to speak on the main overall, I was going to go on to the main debate, so.
Thank you. Councillor Bridgewater?
Yes, I'd just like to say that I welcome the lead member for the Economy's amendment, and I'm more than happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson?
Sorry, are you happy to accept the amendment, Councillor Johnson? Yeah, thank you. Therefore, Mayor, if it helps now, we're not in the realms of an amendment. We have a substantive motion, substantive motion with two parts to it.
Okay, thank you. Now, any debate, councillors? Councillor Ball?
Thank you. Madam Mayor, I appreciate it. I doubt there's anybody in the chamber that agrees with this policy. It's not the first time it's been suggested. It was brought up as a possibility a few years back and thankfully was put away at that point, but it's come back. And like our leader said, that in regards to the economic assessment, I cannot see how this helps. One of the arguments is to enable throughput of traffic. Well, that happens already. It certainly happens in Oakhampton. I'm sure it happens in Tavistock as well. And while I'm sure there are a handful of people that hang on and stay a little bit longer, I parked the other day for 20 minutes, so surely they could have had 40 minutes of my time. But that's by the by. I think the issue here is that the argument is that it will be easier to enforce because there'll be tickets in the window. Well, it'll only be easier to enforce if enforcement officers go there. I don't know what it's like in Tavistock. I think they come once a month in Oakie sometimes. So we don't see them very often. So what difference does it make? Okay, I guess if you haven't got a ticket, they could argue that they could charge you, but they've still got to give you the benefit of you having the first hour for free anyway. So it just seems a complete waste of money, and it seems to me that somebody's found a job lot of parking meters in a cupboard somewhere, and so I know, instead of throwing these away, we'll put them out there. That's what it seems like to me. It's nuts. It's utterly nuts. And at a time, as Councillor Jory said, at a time when the economics of our two biggest towns particularly, and I know include the other conurbations as well, are trying to recover after the COVID and then other issues that we've had. It just seems talk about the wrong time. And the other thing I want to put on record is it seems a bit cynical to have a public consultation over a Christmas period. I'm sorry, but I think that's something that you need to pick up with them, Councillor Bridgewater. It is wrong. People will be away, quite rightly concentrating on families and other things. I'm very cross about that as well. The whole thing is nuts. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And if they're worth anything, they'll listen to the arguments that I'm sure that all members are going to put forward. But I felt the opportunity to vent my frustration, Madam Mayor, my apologies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Ball. Councillor Mann. Oh, sorry, Councillor Mann. Councillor Cheadle was ahead of you in the list, sorry.
Given the near unanimity of view in the council, can I just urge councillors to do whatever they can to bring this matter to the attention of members of the public who are being asked to respond to the consultation. The more people that let Devon County Council know what their views are, the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cheadle. Councillor Oxborough.
Thank you, Mayor. Members who've known me for a long time know that I'm a creature of logic. I fail to see any logic in this. I fail to see any evidence that supports the words on the page in terms of wanting to improve the turnover of cars that parked in our towns. Has the County Council actually measured the turnover of vehicles before they decided they needed to improve it? And how on earth is increasing the duration of parking from 1 hour to 2 hours going to improve the turnover? It's not. It's going to do the opposite. It's going to reduce it. And so this proposal from the County Council is flawed logic, completely flawed logic. I think we all know what's behind it. Cynics might say, well, the County Council have made up their mind, they need to raise some money to balance their books, and this is the measure they're going to use. Well, if that's really the case, they need to be open about it, be honest with people and let people judge them on that basis rather than this ham-fisted approach to try and pretend they've done some sort of research when they've done diddly squat. We need to oppose this strongly, vehemently, and tell the County Council they need to really think again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oxford. Councillor Mann.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for taking this as an urgent item after discussion. I just really wanted to point out this is not only really about parking. I'm concerned about the way in which Devon County has been approaching some of the variety of issues that they're having to deal with as a result of the difficult budget situation they find themselves in. I think we're receiving a petition today from Graham Parker, which is regarding bus services, which is also something that is a county-driven initiative without consultation. So I'd just like to widen the scope of this to say that there's something that we need to do just generally as local government, like the report that was brought forward by our own council regarding the changes to parking charges, in which the proper research is done, a real look at the evidence base and trying to respond to what's actually happening on the ground rather than, and giving people an actual say in what's going to happen and presenting all of the evidence to them so that they can make that decision with the proper evidence. And those processes are there for a reason so that we can have a good democracy. So I really appreciate you taking this and I just wanted to applaud your leadership on that.
Councillor Dexter.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to strongly support both recommendations, but I'd also like to strongly commend Oakhampton Town Council for all the work that they've done. They recently had a petition against this. We got nearly 2,000 signatures, and they organised a meeting the other week in which some very good ideas came out, and the meeting strongly supported our view. What I really like about this is I said to the Mayor that we should be working together with Tavistock and the other councils to get a united voice to tell Devon County Council our views most strongly. And I'm really pleased that we're doing so. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment or debate? Can we have the substantive motion?
Thank you, Matt. So the substantive motion is as per the screens, members, and it's now two parts. Part one being to authorise Councillor Bridgewater as lead member for People and Communities in consultation with the Director of Customer Service and Delivery to respond to the proposals for on-street parking charges in Oakhampton and Tavistock on behalf of the Borough Council. And the new part two is to write directly to Devon County Council seeking an urgent meeting with key members of the County Council, Borough Council, Oakhampton and Tavistock Town Councils and other key stakeholders with the set objective of understanding the rationale, full implications and impact of the proposals. Thank you, Matt.
Can we now have the vote on the substantive motion? Show of hands, please.
Thank you, members. That's unanimous for that recommendation. Thank you.
For your support on this, members. Item number 5, communications from the Mayor. I've just got one item. I'm pleased to announce that the Mayor's Young Person's Green Award for November and December has been awarded jointly to Whitchurch Primary School and Southfield Brownies. I congratulate both groups of young people who've shown commitment and effort in their environmental work, and it was very difficult to choose between them. Both will receive a certificate of achievement and 2 books as recognition of their environmental work from the Mayor, and I will present it in person in the new year. Thank you. Item number 6, public questions, petitions and deputations. I advise Council that I've received notice of an intention to be formally handed a petition regarding the Tavistock bus routes 86 and 89 from Mr. Graham Parker. I invite Mr. Parker to hand over his petition and have given my discretion that he can speak to council for 5 minutes. Can I invite Mr. Parker to come up?
Thank you. Not used to these. Well, actually, before I start, Madam Mayor, may I just thank all of the West Devon councillors who contributed to Christmas treats this year. We are able to send a two-course meal, a Boxing Day bag, and a present to 200 people in the Tavistock and surrounding areas, largely because of the help of West Devon Borough Council, not just in giving the money, but in letting us use the council offices, our packing and dispatch station. So thank you very, very much. And Merry Christmas. Madam Mayor, when I served in this council, I used to come here by bus. Now, in order to present this petition of 347 people, I had to take a taxi. In one fell swoop this summer, county council officers have created a town with 2 classes of public transport. If you live north of Morrison's, you get a Rolls-Royce service from the new 89 bus from early morning into the evening. It runs continuously throughout the day, doesn't cost the ratepayer a penny, and according to officers is guaranteed for at least 8 years. Now, I'll come back to that one later. This Rolls-Royce service takes you through to town centre, to the hospital, West Devon's offices, Morrison's, Lidl, Tesco, and even to the new railway station and the primary school at the Tors. On the other hand, if you live south and east of Morrison's in Bishopsmead, Tiddybrook or Whitchurch, you're stuck with a second-class service. The 86 bus starts nearly 3 hours later than the new 89. It doesn't run at all in the afternoon. It doesn't take people to Tavistock Hospital or West Devon Council offices, and it goes nowhere near the new proposed railway station. Now, this is a dreadful decision, and I'd like to make 5 points to you this evening, if I may. First, the old 89 was funded entirely by Section 106 contributions. The new 86 route relies on money from the public purse. Therefore, it's at the mercy of public expenditure cuts indeed. The County Council, picking up your last item, the County Council has said that the way to protect the 86 bus is to accept parking meters in the town centre, which will pay for the service. Simple. Accept the parking meters or lose the 86 bus. Second, the new service will cost an astonishing 3 times as much as the old 89. The 89 used to cost £50,000 a year. The new 89 and 86 will cost £150,000 a year for a service that cuts off virtually half of the town. Of this 150,000, 100,000 will come out of Section 106. Now, since there is less than £600,000 in the Section 106 pot, it doesn't take a mathematical genius to work out that the county's guarantee that the 89 is safe for 8 years is actually bunkum. Third, county officers say that the changes are required by the various Section 106 agreements. That is also nonsense. All of the Section 106 agreements, from Red Road to Emden Grange, specifically relate to the continuation and improvement of the original 89 bus. By doing what they've done, arguably, the County Council is actually in breach of the Section 106 agreements. Fourth, the county says it isn't possible to run an acceptable service to serve the whole of Tavistock. Nonsense. It seems perfectly possible to run an hourly service from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening, serving all parts of Tavistock, and we produced a specimen timetable to show how that can be done. Everyone I've spoken to would be delighted with such a service. Fifth, and finally, if finance is so short and public transport so important, then it beggars belief that the same county officers refused to require the new Plymouth Road developments to make a contribution to local bus services, arguing that these sites are perfectly well served by the 89 bus. Not anymore, they aren't. Madam Mayor, this decision is the antithesis of local democracy. Correspondence shows that all this has been stitched up by officers behind closed doors in Exeter with no local consultation whatsoever. You should have been consulted about the changes to the use of Section 106 money, so should the developers. For goodness sake, they didn't even bother to consult their own local councillor, Councillor Sellis, who I have to say has been very supportive. Madam Mayor, I ask that you and the Town Council work together urgently to achieve an hourly service serving all parts of Tavistock equally and cost-effectively, even setting up a community-run service if need be. I've said many times that Tavistock's bus service is not safe in the hands of the County Council. Madam Mayor, this is living proof. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. There'll be no debate at this stage, but we will reply to you in due course, Mr. Parker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, members.
Item number 7, questions and motions on notice. I've received no questions or motions on notice from members. Item number 8, committee minutes. The Development and Management Licensing Committee meetings, 3rd of October, 31st of October and 21st of November 2023. I invite Councillor Cheadle to present the minutes. There are no recommendations to Council from these meetings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the minutes of the meetings of the Development, Management and Licensing Committee held on the 3rd of October, 31st of October and 21st of November 23 be received and noted. They are minutes DMNL 15 to DMNL 21, DMNL 22 to DMNL 28, and DMNL 29 to DMNL 35, and can be found between the pages of 9 and 12, 13 and 16, and 19 and 22 respectively. May I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have a vote that these are a true and accurate record of the meeting?
Sorry, Mayor, these are just for noting purposes.
Just for noting, okay. Thank you. Next is the Audit and Governance Committee meeting, 10th of October 2023 and the 5th of December 2023. I invite Councillor Dexter to present the minutes. There's one recommendation to Council relating to the adoption of the Council's Risk and Opportunity Management Strategy. Councillor Dexter.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the minutes of the meetings of Audit and Governance Committee held on the 10th of October 2023 and the 5th of December 2023 be received and noted. They are AC 11 to AC 21 and AC 21 to AC 34 and can be found between pages 23 and 28 and 29 and 33 of the agenda papers, with the exception of the recommendation AC 30. May I have a seconder? I have a seconder, I hope.
Councillor Bridgewater. Thank you.
Thank you. In respect to the recommendation AC 30, I propose the following. That the Council be recommended to adopt the updated risk and opportunities management strategy as set out at Appendix A of the presented agenda report. I think with your permission, Mayor, can I say a few words about
yes,
that?
You may.
Thank you very much. I'd like to summarise the policy. Three key issues. The Council recognises that it has a responsibility to manage risks and opportunities effectively, to control its assets and liabilities, protect its employees and community against potential losses, minimise uncertainty in achieving its goals and objectives, and maximise the chances of achieving its vision. Secondly, risk management is an integral part of the Council's corporate governance arrangements. And thirdly, the Council will be open in its approach to managing risks and will avoid a blame culture. The strategy sets out a clear and structured approach to the management of risk and opportunity and defines the roles of staff, management, the Performance Board, the Audit Committee, and our internal auditors. And finally, it sets out clearly the reporting arrangements, which are designed to ensure that risk management is embedded throughout the Council. This includes monthly reporting to the Performance Board, quarterly reports on strategic risks to the Hub, 6 monthly reports to the Audit and Governance Committee, and finally, a consideration of risk within the Council's annual governance statement and an annual review of risk. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any questions, members? Any debate, members? So we will go to the vote now. All in favour of the recommendations?
That is unanimous, the recommendation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Next, the Overview and Scrutiny Committee minutes of the 10th of October 2023. There are no recommendations to Council, and I invite Councillor Kimber to present the minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the minutes of the meeting of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee held on the 10th of October 2023 be received and noted. They are ONS 823 to ONS 1523 and can be found between pages 35 and 38 of the published agenda papers. Could I have a seconder, please?
The minutes are duly noted. Thank you. The Hub Committee meeting, 21st of November 2023. Councillor Renders is to present the minutes. There are two recommendations to Council relating to capital programme review and the electric vehicle strategy. Councillor Render.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the minutes of the meeting of the Hub Committee held on the 21st November 2023 be received and noted. They are HC 2323 through to HC 3523 and can be found between pages 39 and 46, with the exception of recommendations HC 2923 and HC 3523. Can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Monk, thank you.
Noted.
Those are therefore noted, Mayor.
Okay. In respect of recommendation HC 2923, I propose the following. That the Council be recommended to withdraw 3 capital projects from the current capital programme, being Parklands Leisure Centre contribution to movable floor, 50,000, and Tavistock Viaduct, 20,000. It is also recommended to withdraw the Spring Hill temporary accommodation budget from the capital programme, following the Hub Committee decision to put this project on hold whilst other options are explored, freeing up a further 193,200. Therefore, the review of the capital programme is freeing up capital resources of 263,200, which is potentially available for future corporate priorities and can be repurposed. 2, to continue to progress all other capital projects in line with the existing capital projects within the overall capital programme. There's a lot of capital, sorry. Note the content of the capital programme monitoring report in Appendix C of the presented agenda report, which shows the current expenditure on capital projects between April 2023 and September 2023 of 1.692 million. This being 21% of the profile budget for 2023-24, the first 6 months of the financial year. 4, to note the revised capital allocation for the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, that's the UK SPF, scheme for 2023-24 and 24-25, as set out in section 3.2 of the presented agenda report. 5, note the addition of £26,632 to the capital programme for a new boiler at Oakhampton Business Centre to be financed from the maintenance earmark reserve set out in section 3.3 of the presented agenda report. 6, approve the outcome of the review of revenue reserves, releasing revenue reserves of up to 871,000, which is potentially available to support the delivery of the emerging corporate strategy. Can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Mott. Do we have any questions on this item, members? Any debate? Can I have a show of hands, all those in support?
That's 27 in favour. Thank you, Matt.
Anyone against?
Anyone against?
One abstention. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. And can I ask you to introduce the electric vehicle strategy, Councillor?
That the Council be recommended to adopt the West Devon Borough Council Electric Vehicle Strategy 2023 through to 2025 as set out at Appendix B of the presented agenda report. Again, can I have a seconder, please?
Thank you, Councillor Saxby. Any questions, members? Any debate? We'll move to the vote. Can I have a show of hands, please, of all those in favour?
That is unanimous for that recommendation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We move now on to item 9, Scheme of Members' Allowance Review. Can I ask Councillor Renders to introduce this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the request of the last council administration, the council's independent remuneration panel met on the 23rd of November 2023. As part of its considerations, the panel and I would like to thank those 11 members who completed the survey and give particular thanks to Councillor Oxborough, who also so articulately addressed the panel with my good self. Thank you. The panel's recommendations are set out in section 3 of the report, and I would like to pay particular attention to the wish of the panel for the basic allowance to eventually catch up to the mean average level for Devon districts. Finally, I would like to draw your attention to a typo at section 3.1.4 of the published agenda report, and would like to point out that the second year quoted should be 2024-25 and not 2023-24 as stated. Any questions?
Can I have a seconder? Oxborough, thank you. Any questions, members? No questions. Any debate, members? Councillor Oxborough?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to say that during the consultation with the committee, with the panel, we had the opportunity to make a few points about some of the members of the council who do a lot of work but actually get no additional extra allowance for that. And I was thinking specifically about the Management and Licensing Committee, Development Management. The members of that committee, they have to spend an enormous amount of time getting it right. The one area where this council can come under direct attack from a member of the public is through the planning system. If we get it wrong, a member of the public can take that to appeal, and if they win, and we really have got it wrong, then the council is liable for potentially picking up costs. That puts quite a big responsibility on the members of DNML, all of them. The amount of time they commit is enormous, site visits and more meetings than any other committee during the year. And yet they're not recognised for the level of responsibility financially and the level of risk that they represent, or indeed the time that they give to the council and to the council's business. And I feel very strongly that that's something which this council should redress at some point in time. If not now, then certainly in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments? Thank you, Councillor Drury.
Thank you, Mayor. Very much welcome this report, and I very much welcome the contribution of those that that submitted their evidence and their opinions to the panel, and also to the panel for giving of their time and considering so carefully those thoughts and arguments that were put forward. Overall, I think that the proposals they have come back with are reasonable and fair. I very much support the view that we should move towards aligning our remuneration with the mean average for Devon. We are, in financial terms, a relatively small council. We are, in geographic terms, a relatively big council, and all of our members, I'm sure, do at least as much work as members of other councils. I think it's only fair that that should be recognised. I'm also mindful, and with due regard to many of us present, that actually what we ought to seek to be doing is encouraging more younger working people with families with other responsibilities, with expertise elsewhere as well, to be part of this council. And I think that in the long term we will only do that if we recognise that there are opportunity costs and costs that people engage in if they undertake this very large responsibility. So I very much welcome the contents of this report and the general direction and trend that the panel has alluded to in its comments. So thank you to everyone involved.
Thank you, Councillor Drury. Any more debate, members? Yeah. Councillor West?
Yeah, I would just support what Robert was saying about we have to consider the time and effort that the DML people have to put in, and I would totally support that we keep that in mind in the next round of debate about it from that point of view.
Thank you. Any more? Can you confirm the wording of the substantive motion, Mr. White?
Thank you very much, Mayor. So as per the screens, the substantive motion is that the Council resolves that the recommendations of the independent panel on members' allowances, as presented at paragraph 3 of the report, be agreed, and that the revised draft scheme of members' allowances, as at Appendix C, be adopted with immediate effect, with any consequent increases in allowances being backdated to the 9th of May 2023. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Now we'll go to the vote. All those in favour, can you raise your hands?
That's unanimous for those recommendations. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, members. Item number 10, member appointments. I would like to ask Councillor Renders to introduce this report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members, the purpose of this report is threefold. Firstly, a proposal is being brought forward to this meeting that seeks the consideration of full council to the withdrawal and dissolution of the Heart of the South West Joint Committee. Secondly, the council is asked to note that with effect from Wednesday the 22nd of November 2023, all designated areas of outstanding natural beauty, those are AONBs, in England and Wales have become national landscapes. And finally, recommendations 3 and 4 are now no longer required. Oh, no, don't do that one. We didn't have that one before. I'm reading my script that I did earlier. Apologies for that.
Can we have a seconder, please, councillors? Thank you, Councillor Oxborough. Any questions, councillors? Any debate, councillors? No? Then can we confirm the vote on the substantive motion, or can we confirm the substantive motion? Please, Mr. White.
Thank you, Mayor. The substantive motion is twofold, as per the screens. So recommendation 1 is to approve with effect from New Year's Eve or 31st December the withdrawal and dissolution of the Heart of the South West Joint Committee. And the second recommendation is to simply note that the Tamar Valley AONB Partnership Committee has now been retitled to the Tamar Valley National Landscapes Committee. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. White. And can we now vote on the substantive motion? Please, can we have a show of hands, all in favour?
Thank you, Mayor. That's unanimous for those two recommendations. Thank you.
Now we turn to item 11 of the agenda. 20 Plymouth Road, Tavistock, conversion of existing office accommodation to residential units. Can I ask Councillor Renders to introduce this report?
I'm running out of spit now. Okay, here you go. This report seeks the approval for the repurposing of number 20 Plymouth Road, Tavistock, PL 198AY from office accommodation to 3 times residential units to provide vital temporary accommodation to support the council's temporary housing needs. This report aligns with our housing strategy by making the best use of one of our stock. This will reduce the numbers in expensive temporary housing accommodation and reduce the use of bed and breakfast type accommodation too. It will assist with the pledges made with regard to the housing crisis. A tender has been completed and a total project cost presented. With approval being provided, we hope to commence work in March and complete in September. This is a really positive use of an empty building that the council owns. Oh, my computer's just died.
Thank you, Councillor.
We'll leave it there. There was one last sentence on that, and I do apologise I didn't go on there, but it's just run out of battery. So.
Thank
Should
you,
have had the old-fashioned paper way, then I wouldn't have had that, would I?
Can we have a seconder, please? Councillor West, thank you. Any questions on the report, members? Councillor Casbolt.
Thank you, Mayor. I would question the amount of money being spent on refurbishing of an existing bricks and mortar property. If £650,000 is being spent to convert it into 3 flats, that to me seems an excessive amount of money as a temporary accommodation option, when new builds can be built considerably cheaper than that. Why are we using so much money, nearer, £130,000 per building maybe?
We've got the officers in the room that could probably answer that in more detail. And I will also stress that we need to be a little bit careful. If we go into finance, we might have to move into part 2 on this one. But we might be able to get around it. Let's have a... I don't know who we've got.
An officer who could answer that question?
Mrs. Buckler.
Thank you. Chairman, Madam Mayor, thank you. In 4.3 of the report, which is on page 107, we have broken down that project cost, and because we wanted to keep this report in the public domain, we have said there that 650,000. There has been some historical expenditure, so that has been some feasibility work. And requirement to submit a full planning application, so that cost that we've already incurred is included within the 650. We have been out to tender for this project, and obviously we can't go into detail of that unless we move into part 2. It also contains a risk amount, so we've got a contingency amount in there, obviously taking into account the age of the building. We do require a BAT licence as well. And we've included some project management costs, so some staff costs, which we would look to capitalise to ensure we can get the right project support for the project. And in 4.4, we are recommending to fund that through internal borrowing. So that is where we would borrow from our own cash resources. That is a very efficient and cost-effective way of borrowing when interest rates are high. So at the moment, PWLB external borrowing from the Public Works Loan Board would be quite costly, and therefore we are recommending that we internally borrow that funding of 500,000 at a fixed interest rate of 3% and use 150,000 of housing revenue grants. So in terms of the breakdown of that cost, that is detailed in 4.3, but if members would like any further information, we can move into part 2. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Buckle. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, but I may have a question further on. Thank you.
Councillor Vachon.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, my question relates to that figure. In particular, the 500,000 of the internal loan at 3%. I'm just wondering if you could specifically say where that's actually coming from, because I understand that will be coming out of either earmarked reserves or existing reserves, and will that impact any services in the interim?
Thank you, Mrs. Buckle.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So for you, it wouldn't actually come out of our reserves. It comes out of the council's cash flow resources. So at the moment, we have 27.3 million in investments. So those are investments that we make currently, short-term investments with banks and building societies within the UK, or we also invest in money market funds. So that funding, that cash flow funding would come out from there. We would still need to make what's called an MRP, a minimum revenue provision. So that's a capital repayment in the same way that we would if we borrowed externally from the Public Works Loan Board. And we have looked at what the interest rate should be, looking at Public Works Loan Board rates and also what investment income we can achieve currently. We're suggesting an internal borrowing rate of 3%. So that's the recommendation set out in the report, but the money doesn't come out of reserves, it's just using our own internal cash flow. Councils can internally borrow. I wouldn't recommend that you would internally borrow more than a sort of 10 or 20% of your normal investments. That's a sort of standard practice. The only thing we've internally borrowed for at the moment is about £1 million for leisure investment in our facilities. And because it's quite a low amount, we'd be borrowing £500,000. That's why the recommendation is to do that through internally borrowing rather than externally borrowing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you, that was excellent.
Councillor Cheadle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Like previous speakers, I had to swallow hard when I saw the figure £650,000. It seemed a great deal of money. But I am convinced that the case for the conversion of these flats is a project worth doing. But my question is, what processes will be put in place to monitor the spending on this project, such that we don't end up with a sort of nasty surprise finding that we've spent more than we originally intended to, which has been a feature of projects, capital projects, we have had in the past.
Thank you, Councillor Cheadle. Can one of the officers answer that question, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. In terms of the project, we've got 20% project risk. So I think we talked about the risk management earlier through our capital programme. So we'll need to do this. It's a 6-month build. So we'll be having weekly meetings with the contractor. We'll be looking at the risks on day one, value engineering, so we can look at what we don't potentially need to do to build up that pot as much as we can. It's an up-to value. The 20% feels right because we are out of the ground on this project, but we have the ecology, that's one of the main things, and the age of that building and utilities. So we'll be monitoring it on a weekly, daily, monthly basis, and we can provide updates wider as we're going through that, because you're quite right, we shouldn't be overspending that, but we need to report when we need to use that contingency. That's why it's there. So from an early stage risk register, basically, with the contractor. We hope to do that in early January, subject to approval today. I'm happy to share that with people as they're interested.
Thank you. Can I suggest that when you're 30% of the way through the budget, you make a report to the council of how far through the project you are, and another report when you're 60% through the budget?
Yes, we're happy to do that, absolutely.
Could you introduce yourself?
Oh, sorry, I'm Daniel Field, the Capital Programme Manager.
Thank you.
Apologies, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Oxborough.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to know the tenders that have been received, are they on a firm price or a fixed price? What flexibility is there for spending to rise above? Similar to the question that Councillor Cheadle has just asked. Because like him, I've seen capital projects in the past, costs spiral, and I often ask the question, why have these not been capped from the outset? It does seem an awful lot of money. Having undertaken my own renovation of a very large Victorian property which had to be gutted completely, roof off, floor out, asbestos out, and to fully restore it cost half of that amount, and it's got 7 bedrooms. So it does seem an enormous amount of money for what is an existing building that doesn't have that level of work involved.
I think there's sort of 2 parts to that, really. The level of work, there's actually quite a lot of internal alterations required because of if you've been into that building, the layouts, there's slightly different levels, and we're trying to maximise what we can. So there is some internal works. So there is a little bit, and external works with the heritage, there's some external works that we need to do as well. So in terms of cost, we've gone for that tender exercise. That's the market, and there was quite a close, the 6 we had were fairly close together. And the second part to your question, sorry, was it's a fixed The scope of works we've gone out to are a fixed contract, so those items are fixed. Any changes would be managed through the contract, either because we've said we want you to do something else, contractor, and they'll do more, or for something that they say is an early warning. So this comes down to the risk. If there's a risk that we haven't seen, so for example, the utilities on that building service the kiosk, I think the toilets in the car park, things we can't get to at the moment because of the bats. So the changes will be managed through the contract, but in terms of the scope we've asked for, that's a fixed price.
Thank you. Councillor Mott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To a degree, Councillor Cheadle has already asked the question that I was going to ask, in that will reports be brought back to Hub or full council as is the norm? I note that that's not within the recommendations before us this afternoon, rather, sorry.
Thank you. Councillor Calder.
Apologies, can I get an answer to my question, please?
We'd already answered. Councillor Cheadle. Thank you, Mrs. Buckle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As per usual, there will be quarterly capital programme monitoring reports. So every 3 months there will be a report on the capital programme. All of the capital projects, of which this will be one, will be reported to the Hub Committee on a free monthly basis. So there will be capital monitoring through the normal process. Thank you,
Mrs. Buckle. Councillor Calder.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think my question's already been asked. I'm also astounded at 650,000 to convert an existing building to 3 flats. I don't understand that. Maybe we should have more detail on this contract before we go ahead with it.
Can anyone answer that? Thank you, Mr. Fields.
Sorry, I think if we want to go into any more detail, we probably have to suggest we go into part 2 on that.
Would councillors agree to go into part 2? Yes. Can we have a proposer?
I propose.
And a second? And all in favour?
That is carried to go into part 2. So members, just give me 2 seconds, but I'll just switch off the stream. Thank you. Come back, Mr. Gardner.
See, council.
Yes.
I know.